It's Saul Goodman.
Yes, this episode we learned, and I was at the very beginning. I was like, oh, I had like a eureka moment. I'm like, oh, so that's what his name means. I was like, oh, okay, all right, that
You
makes
didn't know
sense.
that?
No, I didn't, cause
For like 5 years of Breaking, well, obviously you didn't watch it for 5 years, but for 5 seasons of Breaking Bad, you didn't realize that Saul Goodman is Saul Goodman.
no, because it's usually because he goes by his slogan. He doesn't usually say his full name, so I was like, oh, okay, it was just Saul or his little slogan. You better call Saul. So I never really like always heard the thing together to put that together. But anyway, this is episode 4. This is the first time we're not actually getting a Spanish uh, title. This is Hero.
No, Hero's probably Spanish for something.
Oh my god, yeah, we'll look it up.
Vince Gilligan, man, he's that good, man.
He's the He's got powers. He's got powers.
Magic
Yeah.
powers.
So Hero obviously referring to the stunt that Saul pulls. And can I just say, I don't understand Saul's actions in this episode, alright? In my opinion, he could have got more publicity and more attention by exposing the Kettlemans than taking the bribe and trying to recreate Hamlin's law firm. Alright, that's just something that...
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously, he just took it to a new level. He just wants to get, he's more willing to get back personally at Hamlin than to at this point make himself successful. But he's kind of riding on the coattails of this new publicity stunt to make himself more successful afterwards. But yeah, I mean, he probably would have got more positive attention with the whole Kettleman thing.
Yeah, and I mean, because the previews showed Saul possibly taking the bribe, and I was like, oh, there's no way. That's obvious that they're going to show it and then make us think that he took it. But he took it. I'm like, oh my. And then
that was a funny scene, though, because they were just, talking out of their ass, just making up, just like, oh, we're not guilty, but, take this bribe,
And then probably, I don't know if you'll agree, the most insulting thing I've ever heard said to Saul that really, he was like, oh, you're the type of lawyer that the guilty people hire.
Yeah.
And I felt bad.
That triggered something in him.
I felt bad for Saul.
Then he took the bribe anyway, so as if he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I think he's trying to use that money to prove them wrong and to say, no, I am a good lawyer. I can stand on my own.
Right.
And instead, but in order to
by the way, I do not believe the Kettlemans one bit when they say, oh, we were just waiting until we thought about something to do. And I don't know. I'm really suspicious about that line. I think there's a bigger plan going on. No one, Gilligan.
Of course.
There's something bigger going on. Like they didn't just go camping and they'll just wait out and then decide what to do. I think they have an ulterior motive. And I think that Mrs. Kettleman, she's one of the key.
She's pretty crazy. Oh my god.
You know what, Mr. Gilligan?
She was obviously the ringleader. Like he was the one who did it, because he was in the office, but she's obviously the ringleader behind the whole thing.
Until she started asking him to do it, or not maybe not asking in her case, maybe just making him do it.
Yeah.
And this guy, he's just like a slave to his own wife. But yeah, I think you're gonna see more of her later on.
Yeah, that was I mean, I knew they were up to no good. Obviously, by the last episode, once I saw them in the woods, I was like, oh, they're doing something. There might be more to it. It's kind of interesting now. Also, I want to say when Saul approaches Mike, that there's a new kind of chemistry between them, which I thought was kind of interesting. Now it's less of them arguing about fucking parking spaces, and Saul's kind of like, oh, you were right. It's more like almost like down to business. I don't know.
Mike still wants nothing to do with it. It looks like Mike just wants to get along with his job. He's probably sick of this stuff because I mean, you think about it. He's been a cop. He's done all that stuff before. So he probably just wants to have this job and just keep it away from all this dirty business. And then you have Saul trying to instigate it again and being like, hey, so we were right. Have you seen the papers? And Mike's just staring at him the entire time. I swear, every time Mike opens his mouth, it's just like it's brilliance. It's like vocal gold. Everything he just says.
Yeah, he's just. I mean, he's been around the block. Obviously, he's probably undercover doing something right now with the job that he's at. I'm assuming, but yeah.
Oh, Mike, which is upsetting. Just that one scene, and that was it.
And so now I guess there's the reason why this episode's hero, obviously, spoiler alert, in the beginning of the episode,
I really like the beginning scene.
Oh my god, the fucking...
I
Oh
didn't
my,
know
that was a really interesting scene with him.
Yeah, they find the wallet, and then obviously the guy down there, the butthole guy.
I'm
was
gonna
lying back
roundhouse kick you in the face.
Down goes Jean Claude Van Damme.
That was just hilarious.
Yes, a professional performance by P-Dog, everyone. But yeah, that was...
We thought Saul got ripped off, you know, and then it turns out that he was the one, of course, ripping off the other guy because it was a fake watch, and they were in on it, and...
Yeah, that was a nice way of getting the money, because he's like, look here, I'll just give you all the money, and he's like, oh, you're ripping me off with the watch, and for a second, I actually thought that Saul was friends with the guy, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe that is... I didn't get it, because when he got up, I was like, oh, wait a minute, they're in on it? Like, it was such like a twist. I was like, what? Like, yeah. Oh my god, kind of thing. And so, obviously, that leads into the thing with the guy falling off the billboard, and you called it, Jack. You're like, oh, I think it's a setup, and I was like... This is a setup? I'm like,
yeah,
oh my god.
I was looking at it and I'm like, I feel like that guy's gonna take a fall off the thing.
Yeah.
I think whenever Saul was going halfway up the ladder, that's when I started thinking either this is insanely coincidental or this is another one of Saul's schemes, which would then relate to the opening. Because the openings of every single episode so far have excluding episode 1, of course. Every single opening has related to the episode in some way, shape, or form. So this one, it shows that Saul isn't afraid to get his hands dirty a bit and to devise all of these interesting schemes to make himself look good. But he wants to hide this from his brother, which is what you've seen towards the end.
Right. Oh my god, that crazy scene where he puts on his fucking survival blanket and runs. He's running out there dazed and confused, almost gets hit by a car. Puts $5 on the ground. The neighbor's just watching. It was kind of an interesting cut because when they were filming it with his perspective, everything's dazed and confused and he's jostling around, stumbling, and then they shift to the neighbor's perspective, and she's just looking at him stumbling around it's so funny.
Yeah, the Halloween costume, sprinting back to his house, and you're just thinking, oh, what happened to this guy?
Right. What happened to him?
At the beginning of what was it, episode 3, I think, you've seen him normally, and you've seen him, in trying to deal Saul out, and you've seen him. He was a normal guy. He was just sitting around. There was no problems going on. But now you see him at the end of this episode. There's a complete contrast with him panting heavily just because of sunlight. You gotta wonder what has actually happened to this guy in the span in between those two segments.
Now that he knows that Saul, did what he did, and so he's probably going to be upset about that.
Yeah, he's a vampire. He's Edward Cullen. He can't be in the light.
Because knowing Saul's background, he's going to connect the dots and be like, oh, this was a publicity stunt.
And
I think Saul wants to prove to his brother that he can stand on his own 2 feet and he doesn't need the family name. But yet, whenever Chuck is, like you said, he is going to connect the dots and he's going to realize that if this is the way Saul's going to try and build his own name, then By the way, building his own name was probably the funniest billboard I've seen in quite some time.
That was so funny.
He copied everything about Hamlin.
And then that scene where he was at the suit store and he was just asking the tailor for all these specific things that he written down on the paper, and it was that guy's exact suit. He's like, I feel like I'm in a mirror shop or something. I'm just sitting here with this guy.
Yeah.
Though that Jimmy was saying, Saul, Jimmy, whatever you want to call him, that he was whenever they're in the lawyer's office and or the court office, whatever it was, him and Hamlin, and he was talking about how I can't even use my own name, my real name, my birth given name, to for a business, and then you know that later on he doesn't use his own name, he sticks to Saul. Maybe this is something that's going to relate towards the very end. Maybe
at the beginning of this episode, I actually said to Jack, I was like, oh, maybe this is the lead up to him using this new name, Saul Goodman, but then it didn't happen. I was like, all right, well, maybe they're leaving it for something. I don't know. There is going to be an episode.
They're a lot out of this episode. I think we're getting quite close to him changing his name, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. The previews for next week's episode, something happens to fucking Chuck. The police raid his door.
I still haven't I never see the next episode. So once again, hit me with it. Hit me with some.
Well,
stuff.
basically, Chuck and Saul. Chuck's like, why would how dare you do the publicity thing? And it's a lot of stuff focused on Chuck. Like the police raid him, and like something's going. I don't know what happens, but like it's something in concerns to the cops raiding him or something. Also, another plot point. I'm interested to see what plays out. What's Nacho gonna do? Because Nacho's obviously still pissed. Like he doesn't believe.
I love that scene, by the way. The fact that Saul didn't stand for his crap anymore. Because
Nacho, he was backing down.
Where Nacho, he did that thing where it's like, you have betrayed us. There will be consequences, and that's such like a Tuco, what do you call his gang? The Tuco gang, the cartel? No, not is it the cartel? No, it's not.
They're like
cartel.
Yeah, the cartel.
Well, like that's such a like a cliche thing for them to say, like you have betrayed us and we will get you back. The Saul, probably after his ordeal with the Kettlemans, he was like, no, I'm sick of this, and then sure enough, he spins it around and makes Nacho. Well, maybe he doesn't make him realize it, but he points out to him, excuse me, I bent over backwards for you to get you out of here, and he didn't make it easy for me, and he kept on. He just started like blaming all the stuff that Nacho did wrong. And to be fair, I will say credit to Saul because Nacho did kind of ask for it in a way, if you think about everything that happened to him. But hey, maybe that's another Vince Gilligan. It's a bigger picture thing. Maybe he wanted to get arrested. See, you can never make like immediate predictions because like by the time the season's over,
this guy's got a master fucking plan, and you never know what it is,
Yeah, so it's interesting that he's gone for now, but you're probably not going to see the last. You probably are going to see a bit more of him later on. I'd say maybe that's why Chuck gets arrested. Maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe something to do with Nacho not believing him or something.
And I said to Jack when Saul was ripping off people, I said just think Walter White was forming Gray Matters, that company that he sold. Remember?
Oh, was it that early on? 2002?
Well, no. I meant the flashback when Saul was young, hitting the bong and all that. So
yeah, hitting the bong.
Hitting the bong.
I thought you just said that as a joke, and then I realized, he actually did hit the bong in that episode as well.
Yeah.
And I think probably the final-ish point, the final big point that was probably brought up here is what's the deal with Saul's relationship with, I can never remember her name, the woman that works for Hamlin.
I don't know, I think they had some sort of a sexual thing going, and then like...
Oh my god, that scene where he was in the salon, like kicking back, is like, oh yeah, I'm living like a king here in the salon.
I clicked on there called Saul on Netflix, and the first photo I seen was him sitting down in sort of an underwear with the cucumber on his eyes. That was the first thing I seen. So I was like, what on? And he just seen like the title of it just above his head, Hero. I was like, what?
What in the hell?
No, can you imagine that was on the newspaper? That picture on the newspaper, Hero, just for.
You just seen him in the fucking foot spa.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I mean, because there's obviously this lawyer connection. But he brought up a good point. He's like, oh, you shouldn't take their crap either. I think he's kind of encouraging her to go the same path as him. But not exactly, because that's why. Like I said, I disagree with a lot of the way Saul handled this. Because, again, I don't know. Maybe doing the Kettleman thing wouldn't have been the best idea. But for such a big, find, to have that huge fine at the end of last episode... And for it to be played off as, I'm just going to take the bribe and try to get back at people that I don't like. I was like, really, Saul? Really, Jimmy? You could have gone the extra mile there. I don't know if that was the greatest.
I think that decision's really gonna I think that's really gonna have consequences later on. Like the fact he took the bribe from the Kettlemans. I think maybe not in the next 3 episodes or so. Maybe I think further on than that, something big's gonna happen, and they're gonna realize that Saul took a bribe. And once again, that he doesn't need that after Chuck finding out that he did a publicity stunt to get famous. You can tell that Saul's rise to I don't even say rise to fame because he isn't really famous at the end of it, but his rise to becoming a Saul Goodman, it's pretty dirty and I don't know dodgy, I suppose, in a way, because he's taking bribes, he's doing publicity stunts. He's not doing it in a very pure way.
I mean, well, hell, Saul Goodman's office in Breaking Bad isn't the... I mean, it deals with these kind of fucking things, right?
Yeah,
I mean...
probably the evolution. He had to start dirty in order to become the lawyers of dirty people.
He knows it so well.
But, solid episode throughout. I mean, the only thing that I didn't really like was just... I didn't agree with the main character's way about going about his plan, when in the past I did. But,
show for it.
Yeah, so scores for this? I don't know what you guys give.
I'm gonna give it a 9.
9?
Okay.
Last week I gave it a 9.5, I think. So
Yeah.
I'll give this one a 9.
Yeah, I think we all give it a 9 point. We've been like keeping the exact same ratings, like apart from the first episode, our ratings have been the exact same all three of us, but it's gonna be different. It's gonna be different.
I think I'm gonna go an 8.5 just because I don't agree with Saul's way of doing things. That's about it. But everything else was good. Everything else was pretty good. Good lead up and everything.
This might be the first time that all three of us like conference I'm gonna give it an 8, which I mean it's still really good. Didn't think there was as much meat in this episode.
Yeah,
I felt there was a bit less like stuff going on. It was more of like I don't want to say filler episode because no episode so far has been filler, but like there's a bit less going on. I mean, you're seeing the way Saul's doing all this stuff, but there wasn't really much to like really grip you or anything. Which of course that's that's not a bad thing at all. Like you don't want every single episode to be gripping, otherwise you're gonna be exhausted by the end of the series. But like I think that these episodes are kind of necessary in the series, and unfortunately this is one of them. It was still really good. It was still really enjoyable. Like I did enjoy it completely. But once again, it just wasn't up to the par of the previous 3, especially not after last week's episode. So yeah, I'll give it an 8. I think.
All right, so we've got fluctuations in the 0.5 scale here, but that's all right. That's always good. If we're the same every single week, I think that'll get stale anyway. But
there's that one scene though I wanted to talk about. Right after Saul got out of the court office with Hamlin. He was standing there on his phone, and Hamlin passes by him, and he gives him the middle finger while like itching his head, like one of those like middle fingers in yeah, he was itching his forehead with his middle finger, and he was flipping Hamlin off. I was just like,
oh, we lost
you
it.
Sly
Did you
dog.
catch that, Pete? Did you catch that?
I didn't catch it. Although there were 2 other things that there were 2 Breaking Bad references. Well, one of them is a pretty dodgy Breaking Bad reference, and a lot of people went nuts whenever they saw it apparently, but it wasn't the full reference. The one I'm talking about here is whenever they're in the suit tailor shop, a lot of people thought that it was Gustavo's home, I can never remember the flipping name of it, the restaurant that he owned.
Los Pollos Hermanos. No, I don't think it was.
People thought, it was the same shirt.
Oh.
Gus's. But the tie was pretty different. But everyone thought, oh my gosh, that's Saul's suit. Another Breaking Bad reference. The one real Breaking Bad reference in this, though, was at the very beginning. In the titles, for like half a second, they cut to the Hello Kitty phone that Jesse gets from Saul whenever he wants to like change his identity. So he's seen that very briefly, and it's kind of
I didn't notice that. That's a good find.
Hello Kitty. I actually noticed it whenever the first time I seen it. I didn't even read it up. Like the first time I seen it, because I seen the phone drawer, and I was like, are they gonna make a reference to the Hello Kitty phone, the most famous one that they had? And yep, for like a very short amount of time, it was shown. There you go. There's
that's good. Vince Gilligan showing his talent as usual. And yeah, so all right. So next week's episode, this was Hero. Next week's episode is Jello. I don't know what the hell that was. I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting one.
By the way, the biggest fact so far in this entire review. This hero is the Spanish hero is English for hero.
They all end in O. That's the only thing they have in common so far.
Okay. So man, Vince Gilligan and his O's, man. It's gonna be at the very end. It's gonna be like a revelation with the O's.
Of course, it always is. But we expect great things as usual. But all right. So that's our episode 4 review. Thank you for watching, and as always, comment, rate, subscribe. And all that great stuff. Peace out.